Hello, everyone. This is Gary Wilson, and welcome to this week's live webinar for the Investor Agent Program. And again, we just as like we always do, we have people on who have gone through the rental program and even the flip program, which is under development right now. So they were smart enough to jump in on that because when you're involved in a development program, you get direct access to the instructor throughout the 8, 9, or 10 weeks of the program. And whatever it is you're doing, you're studying, we don't quit until everybody has, in the case of flips, everybody's got something under contract. Or in the case of rentals, everybody's got something under contract. So if you guys are ever looking to do something like that, that's how I learn. And that's why I use that technique. It saves you time, energy, and money over a long period of time and helps you be a lot more successful. So look for those to come in the future. We only make them available to current students, all right? No one else can do that other than you guys. So in any case, enough of that. Tonight what we're going to do is two things. We've done 3 weeks of a 4-week session on setting up a classroom for your prospects. Okay, prospect meaning you know them, they know you to some level, to some degree, and they're willing to come sit in a classroom format that you're putting on. The first one, and the first 3 weeks are, number one, you talk about flips. Second week, you talk about rentals. Third week, you talk about wholesaling. And then the fourth week out is where you actually go visit properties on site. Okay. Now, generally speaking, you can mix it up. You can show rentals and flips on that day, and you have everybody follow you in a caravan. Tonight, what we're going to do is we're going to finish out the exit strategies for people who buy rentals and people who buy flips. Also, potentially people who wholesale can do this too. It's called a lease option. That's the number one thing we're going to cover tonight. What it actually is a lease option, how does it work, and why and when do we recommend it? So you're going to know the who, what, where, when, why, and how. The second part of the night is we're going to introduce another new technique, not new in the industry, but new to you, is a bus tour. And the reason is once you get comfortable teaching these classes, and it's going to take a couple of months, and you get the routine down of going out on one Saturday a month, showing what looks to be like really good investment deals, we're going to have you set up a bus tour. I'm going to describe the bus tour tonight, what you do and how you do it and when you do it. And you'll see it's a natural progression from the class. That's why we teach the classroom setting first. So I hope you guys are really taking notes on this stuff. I will tell you that the classroom marketing technique was by far and away one of my most favorites and also one of my most profitable. I did not do it right away. Okay, I did all the other techniques first, and there's a reason why I saved this for people who've already gone through the program and have done other techniques. It's because it is advanced. It does take a higher level of confidence, but once you do it, it's awesome. And I can tell you that agents like Kelly O'Keefe up in the Boston area, she does this on a regular basis. And by the way, guys, she never bought a single investment property in her life. Okay. So matter of fact, that her interview, it may have already come out where we were going to promote that this month. If you saw the interview email come out for Kelly O'Keefe, I highly recommend you listen to her, guys. She talks about wholesaling, how you make money with wholesalers. She talks about other marketing techniques, and she's an absolute rock star. She's a very gracious, lovely person who's willing to share her information with all of you. So, okay, without further ado, let's jump into the heart of the matter tonight. And this is first a lease option. Okay, everybody have your pencil and pen ready and paper and a glass of water. Okay, a lease option is this. Or here's what a lease option is not, actually. Let me start with this. Everybody has heard of rent-to-own. There's rent-to-own furniture, rent-to-own stereos, all kinds of rent-to-own type businesses. And of course, there you can do rent-to-own with real estate also. Now, rent-to-own we do not recommend. So please write that down. We do not recommend rent-to-own as an exit strategy in any state in the U.S. or any province in Canada. Okay, and here's why. Basically, the basic structure of a rent-to-own is this. Let's say you've got a property that you're not sure what you want to do with, or you've tried to sell it and it didn't sell like you thought it would, or you were getting lower offers than you wanted, or you wanted to rent it but you want more rents, okay? What you can do is what's called a rent to own. Again, I'm going to describe what a rent to own is and tell you why we don't recommend it. So what a rent to own is, someone will put down a larger deposit, not just a rental deposit, okay? They'll give you a deposit on the lease portion of the transaction, okay? But they should also give you an additional deposit that's to be applied towards the purchase of the property. It might not be a lot. I mean, it might be essentially two deposits. One is equal to 1 month's rent for the rental portion, and one is equal to 1 month's of rent equal to for the deposit portion, okay? People who do rent to own generally don't have a lot of money. And the additional part is this. A portion of every month's rent goes towards the purchase price of the house. It actually goes towards the down payment of the house, okay? And you could do it for 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, whatever you want to do. And I'm not saying it doesn't work. It's legal, it's ethical, and it does work, okay? However, it has some major drawbacks for the owner of the property, and the main drawback is this. Let's say the tenant, because technically they're a tenant, defaults on their rent. Okay, they stop paying their rent. You can't just go and do a simple eviction, which generally you can do in 30 to 45 days in most parts of the country. In New York, it's going to take longer. In parts of California, it's going to take longer. And sadly, up in my beloved Canada, it's technically going to generally going to take longer. Okay. However, other parts of the country, I tell you, Florida, the Carolinas, Texas, generally are very easy on owners. Pennsylvania is a little bit tougher, not so bad. Virginia actually is tougher than Pennsylvania, to be honest with you. Ohio's not too bad. Indiana, Kentucky, not too bad. Any case, what happens is if somebody's in a rent-to-own transaction and the buyer slash or tenant does not pay rent, and you go to court to evict them, as soon as they show up with their rent-to-own agreement, the judge is going to look at that and say, quote unquote, I can't hear this case because it technically is a foreclosure. The reason is as soon as you give any person even $1 in equity in a piece of real estate, they have $1 of ownership rights. And when they have ownership rights, they cannot be evicted. They have to be foreclosed on first, okay? And as you all know, foreclosure can be a long, drawn-out process. In most states, you're looking at a minimum of 14 months. That is bare minimum if nobody puts up a fight and everybody cooperates. And what are the chances of that, right? Okay, so that's a rent to own. And again, the reason we don't recommend it is if a tenant defaults, you cannot evict them. You have to foreclose on them, okay? Major drawback. So before we get into lease option, does anybody have a question on rent to own? Okay, because some people still are going to try to do rent to own. Again, I'm going to advise you against it, and I'm going to advise you to advise your clients against it. Okay, so far so good. Here's lease option. Here's the difference. A lease option is this. When you are sitting at the table with a prospective buyer, okay, they're not actually going to buy the property. What they're going to do is they're going to execute an option agreement, and the option gives them the option to purchase the property at a later date, okay? So they're not purchasing the property now. They're simply putting a placeholder in with first right of refusal. So what that means is if you do an option period of 1 year, in that year, you as the owner, you can't sell the property to anybody else. You can't rent it to anybody else. You can't do anything with it other than allow these people to live in there and hopefully pay you a lease fee or rent, which is separate from the option document. Okay, here's the big difference. In a lease option, the option is a simple instrument, legal instrument that you can sell. You can sell an option agreement to a consumer, and they give you, I would suggest, anywhere between 3 and 5% of the purchase price to hold the property for them for up to a period of a year, 6 months, 2 years, 3 years, whatever you want to do. You choose the option period or you negotiate that with that person, okay? At the end of that option period, if they have not purchased the property, you get the property back, okay? Possession, that is, you never actually give up any other rights of ownership other than possession. This is what happens in a lease option. Back to the rent to own, you actually give up some ownership rights because you're applying a portion of the rent towards the purchase price. Okay, lease option, back to lease option. Not $1 of rent or the leasing fee goes towards the purchase of the property. Not one dime, not $1. And the option fee is also non-refundable. Okay, option fee is non-refundable. So what that means is if they don't exercise their option to purchase, by the way, this is all this is available to you in your manual, and let's see, that is page 87. It looks like. In any case, back to the lease option. The option fee is non-refundable. Again, it's your money to keep, regardless of what happens. And by the end of the option period, these people should have gone to get a loan to allow them to purchase a property or come up with the cash or in some other way be able to take title to the property by paying you the agreed upon purchase price. That purchase price is determined at the time you execute the lease and the option document. Okay, so the advantage to the buyer is prices continue to go up, so they lock in the price of today's prices. And if the option period is 3 years and it goes up 10%, they technically now, when they purchase it, will have a 10% equity stake. Okay, the benefit to you is when you first get into a lease option, you're generally not going to negotiate on price. You're going to get the highest price possible you can for that property. Okay, the other benefit to you as the owner is in the meantime, you're collecting rents. And you guessed it, the rents are typically higher than traditional rents or other rents, market rents in the area. So again, the benefits of a lease option to the owner are you get a non-refundable option fee, okay, typically 3 to 5% of the purchase price. You also get higher rents for the period of the option fee. If they default on the rent, you can evict them and keep the option fee, of course, because it's the option that has no bearing on the lease or vice versa. Also, when you're in your lease agreement, you make the tenants responsible for everything that has to do with the property, including capital improvements. In other words, if a furnace goes bad, you don't pay for it, the tenant does. Same thing with water tanks, whatever the case is whatever goes wrong with the property, they need to maintain it, not you. So you're starting to probably see why this is such a valuable exit strategy for people, okay? So in any case, the benefit to the buyer is, again, they lock into the price. They get to act as if they own the property, take care of it, plant flowers, trim the shrubbery, get to know the neighbors, and it also buys them time to improve their credit or save up more money for a down payment. Okay, that's the benefits to the buyer / tenant. As you can see in a lease option, while they act more like owners, they have less ownership rights. Whereas in a rent to own, they act more like tenants and have more ownership rights. Okay, that's a big distinction. I hope you guys remember that and write that down. Now, for you guys as agents, you can gain part of your commission out of the original option fee. Okay, so you don't have to wait to get paid a year or two when the property finally does change hands. Okay, you can make that part of your listing agreement that if they do a lease option, you get part of the option fee as a down payment or first part of your commission. Okay, you can also, if I was you guys, I would have asked them for you to receive 10% of rents, and in the place of that, you will manage the property for them, which will be no problem for you because the tenants are doing everything. It's the easiest management agreement you could ever come up with. But you have risk as an agent because they could default and they might not buy the property, right? Even if they do, the owner says, hey, I'm tired of this lease option stuff. Let's just go ahead and sell it. You still get the listing, all right? Matter of fact, you could put it in your listing agreement that if the lease option does not work out, you still get the first right of refusal on listing it for a predetermined time frame, like a year, all right? So it is an awesome opportunity for investors, for agents, for everybody alike. Okay, let's see if we got questions so far here, because I just gave you a real handful there. Okay, do you have a copy of a lease option contract available so we can read and learn from the clauses you use? And that is from Ricardo. Yes, actually, Ricardo, if you could do me a favor, email Beverly and copy me, and we'll be glad to send you one of our former option documents. You can get a lease actually on your MLS system. Leases are available there. The option document is separate. Remember, option is completely separate legally and every otherwise from the lease and vice versa. Okay, so give the option agreement. You should be able to get the lease off of your MLS system. Matter of fact, you might even have option agreements on your MLS system. I've seen MLS systems around the country that actually have them. You can even Google it. You can even Google, option agreement, and you can see the terms that are in there. I will give you a big hint here. The longer the option agreement, the worse it is, okay, because it smacks of a contract, it smacks of a sales agreement. So if you have an option agreement that starts talking about title and insurance and all this kind of stuff, don't use it. You want insurance and all those type of things. You want everything in the lease that you can possibly put in the lease. The option agreement is just as simple as it says. You're basically selling the option to purchase the property at a future date. It should not have any other sales agreement type language in it at all. So be wary of those, Ricardo. Okay, that's a very good question, by the way. Okay, let's see if we got any more questions here. Hang on one second while I browse through this. Okay, so far so good. Any other questions on lease options? All right, when do you use a lease option? Well, in a changing market, okay, and it could be going up and it could be going down. When there's any uncertainty in the market, lease options are a great way for people to buy time to see what's going to happen in the marketplace. Generally speaking, if you've had a downturn, which we're going to be experiencing here in the next few months, parts of Canada, particularly Ontario around Toronto, are already about 3 months into their correction. In the U.S., of course, everybody saw the stock market correct by 10% not too long ago, which means in 6 months the rest of the economy is going to follow suit. So whenever you see a downward correction, that's usually the typical time where you see people doing a lease option. They just, people have they're tightening up on their borrowing, they're tightening up on their spending. They still want a bigger home, so they're willing to do a lease option. For sellers, what happens with the seller is if prices begin to decline, they can lock into a higher price. So imagine this. And this is why we're bringing this up now, guys. We're at the front end of a dip. We're at the front end of a correction. And this is why I want you guys to remember this and tell this to your clients. Would you imagine that they will be happy to be able to lock into prices now if there's a belief that prices will drop over the next 1 to 3 years? You better believe it. So lock into a price now with a lease option, sell it later. Okay, there's a lot of benefits to that. So in any case, let's see. Ricardo says that's why I want to see yours. Excellent. Yes, we're gonna send you ours, Ricardo. We've had multiple versions over the years, and honestly, the shorter I made it, the better it was. Okay, Ariana has a question. Okay, in a rent-to-own, how are the tenants foreclosed on if they don't own the house yet? So here's what happens, Ariana. Even though you haven't executed a pure sales agreement with them, you did do a rent-to-own agreement with them, and even though you haven't transferred title, the deed hasn't transferred, you still have the homeowner's insurance in your name. The big problem is that what's called equity. Okay, it's called equitable rights to the property. And as soon as you take a portion of the rent and apply it towards the purchase of the property, you've given them one of the rights of ownership, which is equitable rights. They actually own, financially speaking, a portion of that home. If it's worth $100,000, they may only own $100 of that $100,000, but that $100 gives them ownership rights, and any one ownership right overrules an eviction process and forces you to go to in foreclosure proceedings. So Ariana, did I answer that enough for you to get a good idea for why that is? If you could let me know that, I'd appreciate it. Good question so far. Okay, that's Ariana says yes, thank you. You're very welcome. Okay, what I want to do now, guys, is let you settle on that for a moment, and I want you to get another clean sheet of paper, and at the top, I want you to write down bus tour. Okay, and for those of you who've been around the block once or twice and have executed your first workshop, or done some of the other techniques, or you simply got enough experience in the business where you know what a bus tour is, and you're comfortable with it. We're going to talk about that next, and I would be really, really encouraging you guys to use a bus tour between now and Thanksgiving. It is an optimum time of year to be doing bus tours. Okay, so here we go. We're going to talk about bus tours. let's say you've got clients who are already in the game of buying properties, okay? And or you've been putting on the classroom scenario. You've done it 1 or 2 months in a row. And by the way, the classroom scenario is not something you do once and forget about it. It's something you do on a regular basis. You can do it quarterly. You can do it every other month. I suggest you do it every month. And it doesn't matter where you are in the country. We've done them in Seattle, Chicago, and any and all months. We don't care what the weather's doing. Now, granted, if a hurricane's coming through, you've got to change your plans. If a major blizzard comes through, you got to change your plans. We understand that. However, here's the deal. If you've got a pretty decent sized database, and you've got some clients in there, even if you haven't worked with them yet as investors, but you know that they were interested in investing, what you can do is set up a one-time classroom if you want. I suggest you do the 3 per classroom. Get them in there to get familiar with your forms, the forms I've given you, okay? Get them used to following your instructions. In other words, come to class on Wednesday night at 7 o'clock. The people that show up at class are following your instructions. The people that actually fill out the calculators with the listings you give them in class, they're following in your instructions. So when you set up a bus tour, they're going to follow your instructions. And what you do is this. You tell them you're going to handpick a bunch of properties, okay? And again, I know this runs counter to our basic premise of you not doing the analysis, them doing the analysis. You're really not doing a lot of analysis. All you're doing is you're selecting properties that you do the financial analysis on originally, and you go do some drive-bys and make sure that the properties are actually standing there and not tear downs, okay? And you put them on your list. You make the arrangements to show the properties always at the beginning of the week. So bus tours are always done on Saturdays. You can try to do them during the week, but you're going to not get good turnout. You're going to be fighting traffic. It's going to be horrible. People have done it, and trust me, it never works. Always do Saturdays. You don't want to do them on Sundays because people are used to having open houses on Sundays. And we have done them on Sundays. But I can tell you, historically speaking, guys, over 17 years, the Saturdays were always the best turnout for bus tours, okay? So here's what you do. You want to promote your bus tour about a month in advance, even though you're not going to select your properties. Your properties you don't select till a week in advance. Okay, so if you have a Saturday bus tour, the prior Sunday you select your properties, and on Monday you make the arrangements to see them. Now throughout the week, and this is very important, guys, I'll write this down. Throughout the week you have to monitor the status of the properties, because if something goes under contract, you drop it and add something else. So you could be adding properties as late as Friday. The bottom line is you got to have your itinerary set by, so I would say 5 p.m. on Friday, okay? You want to give yourself the whole week to set your itinerary because you want to have good properties in a geographically speaking mapped out in a manner that makes sense. You're not running all over town back and forth, left to right. You're doing maybe a arcing or a circular pass through the city or around the city, wherever you are, okay? Or a straight line, whatever makes the most sense. Now, what you're going to do promotional-wise is you're going to step back 30 days, start to contact your contact management system, let them know you're going to have a bus tour, it could be 28 days, but essentially 4 weeks in advance. And you set the date, you go ahead and order your bus. Order the bus that far in advance. Trust me, it'll save you some money. Now, you're going to promote this for the next 3 weeks because you'll have people that will hesitate and they'll wait and they won't register right away. All right. Now, the first time you do one, you might want to just rent one of those like an access van that holds like 12 or 15 people because it's going to be cheaper. However, what will happen is you're going to eventually grow this technique and you will literally have to rent a bus. I don't mean a school bus, but a chartered bus. So they're all over, okay? Every town has them. It's more expensive, but it will be worth it because now you can put 30 or more people on a bus, okay? So you rent your bus, and I can't tell you what bus service to use because you guys are all over the place. You're in Canada, you're in the East, you're in the West, you're in the South. I can tell you we've done them coast to coast, and every town has some local bus service, okay? So you get your bus, you start promoting it to your clients, all right? You're going to start off sending out emails, and you've got to send out emails to let them know that they have to register ASAP. And if I was you, I might charge them a nominal fee, like $10 or $20, okay, something like that. And you can say you'll provide lunch if you want. But something, some little hook to, it's in addition to a bus tour to go buy investment properties, okay? And then another week out, you'll send another email, okay? And the third week, you're going to start to call and confirm everybody, send more emails because you want to make sure you fill up your bus, okay? The other thing you're going to do too, guys, is a month in advance, I want you to line up. As a matter of fact, let me just take a quick pause here because I want you to catch up on your note taking. I want you to write that down 30 days in advance. For 2 weeks, you're going to do emails. Third week, you're going to do email and phone calls, not just to follow up and confirm, but also to fill out the other seats, okay? I've done them for free. I've charged $10. I've charged $20. Honestly, there's been no difference statistically in the number of people that showed up. Over a while, I just got more confident and decided I'm going to charge $20, and I got it. You know, in the beginning, you might want to do it for free until your confidence level is ramped up there, and then you can charge $20. But you also want to line up a lender. A month in advance, you want to line up a lender, and make sure you find a lender who is comfortable making loans on flips and loans on rentals, okay? That's very important. You don't want to do this until you've got your lender in advance because your lender is going to be on the bus with you pre-qualifying these clients, okay? Awesome technique. The second person you want to have with you is an assistant, an admin person, or if you guys are on a team, you should be sharing this duty with a teammate. You're going to absolutely have to do it because you need somebody to open up the doors and walk people through the properties. You need somebody else also to kind of be that person's in the front of the pack. You need another person, another agent perhaps in the back of the pack, or at least an admin person who can actually help fill out documents. Because guess what's going to happen at the end of that day? You're going to get offers coming in on some of those properties. You need to be prepared for that with at least an admin person or a partner, okay, another realtor that if you haven't formed a team yet, you probably be forming a team now because it's going to take a team effort to pull this off. Doesn't take much, but there's enough goodies to go around. You're going to want to share. You're going to need to share, okay, with another agent. A lot of people, they want to keep all the goodies for themselves, so they'll hire an admin person. So the bottom line is there's you, there's a lender, and there's one other person to help you manage the crowd and bring up the rear and also help you fill out documents at the end of the day, okay? Now, let me take a quick pause here because we're getting into the heart of this matter, and I want us, before we go any further, I want to make sure you guys are getting your questions answered. So let me check here and see what we got. Okay. This is Ricardo. Okay, back to rent to own. Ricardo, can you rent to own without applying any amount to the purchase? You can, Ricardo, but if you're going to do that, why wouldn't you do a lease option? So if you're going to do a rent to own with no portion of that money going towards the purchase of the property, then that's just a straight lease, okay? If there's any desire at all on the part of the consumer to buy the property and there's a desire on the part of the seller to sell the property, there should be either an option fee, okay, and an option document executed, or in the case of a rent to own, a much higher deposit, okay? I would never do a rent to own, number one, but if I was to do one, I would want a much higher deposit and I would want a higher rent, and that extra rent's going to go towards the down payment. So if you don't have anything going on a rent to own, if there's no portion of the rent going towards the purchase, to me that's just a regular lease. That's all it is. There's no ownership portion also. It's just a rental. So think about that. Okay, let's see here. Ricardo again. In the case somebody wants to get in the house because they want to be able to buy it later. He's following up with his first question. Yeah, if there's desire, Ricardo, on the part of the consumer, the buyer and or renter to actually take possession of the property as in an ownership capacity, they've got to put some skin in the game, man. They got to put down either a much larger deposit and pay a higher rent in the case of a rent to own, or they got to purchase an option agreement. They got to purchase the right to buy the property at a later date. They can't. If I'm an owner, I would never let my property go off the market without having something in return in the way of compensation. In most cases, that's going to be money. Okay. Now I say that and tongue in cheek because we've had people accept boats and cars. Okay. And also equity portions of other properties. In other words, Party A is the owner of the property that's being leased option. Party B is a lease optioner. The lease optioner may already own other properties, and they're just looking for a way to buy this one, and they're willing to give up an ownership stake in their existing properties to the one they want to lease option. So I've seen that done before too. But in any case, Ricardo, there has to be some sort of what's called consideration. That's the legal term, consideration, exchange between the two parties. Okay. Okay, let's see here. This is, do you necessarily need to use a bus, or can you just give them a list of locations and itinerary you are going to be at the properties? I, Ricardo, I wouldn't do that with a large number of people. See, the reason we do the when we do the class, let's say we're talking about the classroom marketing technique here, and we do this Saturday where we're taking our students out and we have them follow along. The reason we can do that is we've already developed rapport with these people. They're following our instructions, and I have no doubt that they'll follow me through all the properties throughout the day. Okay, and also it may only be 10 people. All right, 10 people in a class. When you do a bus tour, you got to be prepared because you're looking at easily 20 plus people, if not more. We've actually had situations where we had to rent multiple buses. So the reason is, do you want 30 people in 25 cars or 20 cars going from neighborhood to neighborhood trying to find a place to park? No way, Jose. Also, Ricardo, you want to maintain control of the event and of the day. You want to maintain control from the very beginning of the day, when they first meet you at the office to get on the bus, and the end of the day when they get off the bus. Okay? And now you've got a captured audience in that bus multiple times throughout the day, in between properties, going to the first one and coming from the last one, where you can ask questions, build up excitement, and build up a sense of urgency, because you know what? They're on a bus with other people, and there might be multiple people wanting the same properties, and it's going to happen. Okay. Also, if people say, "Hey, what if 3 of us want the same house?" You tell them all 3, make the offer. You'll present all 3 offers. You're not going to play favorites. It's up to the seller. The seller will respond, and you communicate all responses to all 3 buyers. Give them all the same rights and the same opportunities to counter offer, raise their offers, or change the terms of their offer, whatever they want to do. Okay. The bottom line is this, Ricardo. This is your day to shine. It's your event. You're forking out the money to rent the bus. It lets you collect $20 a person that you can have the bus paid for. Don't be too cheap, especially in the beginning. I did that, but only after a couple of years. But the bottom line is this: you always want to maintain control of the event. Okay, you know what people are thinking. You can hear what they're saying. You can look at their body language. And if they're riding around in other cars, you can't talk to them, and you can't see their body language. All right, because when the bus is rolling, you're walking up and down the aisle. All right, you're pressing palms. Making jokes, you're getting people to, you're asking them, "Hey, what'd you like that last what did you like about the last property? Let me see your rehab sheet. Let me see your profit and loss sheet that you wrote up on the property." Keep them engaged and keep them in under your control. Okay. Let's see here. Let's see what it says. So does that make sense, Ricardo? Let me look for a response there. That was a good question, by the way. Yeah, the larger the activity, the more control you need to exercise, by the way. Let's see what else we got here. That's another Ricardo. Okay. Do the property owners have an issue with a group people going into the property? And I'm guessing we have to disclose that during the scheduling. Yes. So this is Oriana. Excellent question. In most cases, we try to limit this, in the case of flips, to vacant properties, because guess what? If it's a flip, it probably is vacant. So there's no ownership issue there. You do have to disclose to the agent that you're bringing in a bus of people, full of people. But if you're a good agent, when you tell them you're bringing a boatload of people to the properties, I mean, think about it. If you're a listing agent and you got a property sitting there that if it's a good candidate for investment, it's probably going to have some issues with it. And an agent calls you and says, "Hey, I'm bringing 30 people through your property." Would you say no thank you, or would you say you let them in? I guarantee you every agent on the planet is going to say you let those guys in. And they know they got a pretty good crack at selling that property too. Plus you likely will have multiple offers, which drives the price up. Now that's in flips. In the case of rental properties, what we do is we always tell them that we only need to see one unit. Okay, so if it's a 4-unit building, we'll check out the grounds, we'll check out the common areas, and we'll check out one of the units. You will get some pushback on rentals, but quite frankly, any savvy owner like me who's been around is going to see the value of a bus tour. I'm going to say you let them rip. You bring in those 20 people, show them that building, and get that sucker sold today. Okay, let's see here. Also, another quick point here, guys, on these bus tours. What I learned to do over the years, unlike the classroom setting where I'm going to show them a mixture of properties, on a bus tour, I'm actually only going to show them either flips or rentals. So what I do is I'll say on this Saturday we're going to show rentals, and 2 Saturdays from now we're going to show flips. Okay. In fact, I know agents in Seattle and Chicago who do these every Saturday. So every other Saturday they do flips. Every other Saturday, the alternate Saturdays, they do rentals. Okay. So in any case, I hope that helps you. Understanding now in the beginning, yeah, you might combine flips and rentals, but once you get, again, this isn't like you're going to be an expert right out of the gates, guys. This is going to take you a couple iterations. But the good news with this technique is you don't have to don't go for perfection right away. You're going to try to, but even if you don't, you're still going to get some sales out of it. Okay. Let's see. Yes. How much time per property? Sorry. I generally give a half hour per property. That's my rule of thumb, 1/2 hour per property. Okay. The reason now we've actually done it as short as 15 minutes, but when we push it to 15 minutes, we started getting a lot of pushback from the participants because there were a lot of newbies that didn't think it was enough time. Seasoned veterans, once you get an investor training in your classroom and they've done a few properties, they can go in a property in 15 minutes, tell you if they want to pursue it or not. Okay. So start off with a half hour and see how that goes. You can try to push it to 15 after that. But start off with a half hour. So, and that's why on these bus tours, by the way, I'm not just doing 3 hours. I'm doing it for 6 hours. Okay. I might do it for 4 hours. I might do it for 5, but I want to make sure I got the whole day slated. Okay. And at the end, you need to save a few hours for doing some contract work. All right. So let me do this. Let me open up the floor to questions here. You guys just got this is another key to the vault type technique. Is anybody actually show of hands or give me some shout outs on the question box? Who here would like to execute one of these techniques? Just let me know, because if you haven't already, if you need to schedule a call with me, a strategy call, again, it's part of your program. It doesn't cost you any extra, and I'll help you through the launch sequence for this technique. Okay, so we got some good questions here. Let's see, we got another one here. This is Ken. Hey, Ken, how you doing, buddy? Is Tammy on the phone too, or on the webinar? And I'm guessing you guys really like this one. Okay, let's see. NVA, we aren't supposed to show a home if we don't have a buyer's agreement. How do you get a buyer's agreement unless you show a home? So I'm confused here, Ken. Maybe you can clarify. Let me just read the rest of the question. Okay. In Virginia, we aren't supposed to show a home if we don't have a buyer's agreement. Would we need to have a buyer's agreement signed with every person on the bus? Oh, you mean as a buyer's agency agreement? Yes, absolutely. I'm sorry, Ken. I thought I misunderstood you. I thought you meant a sales agreement. You guys want to, if they haven't already signed one with you guys, and by the way, the reason I always teach this technique second behind the classroom setting is, guess what you do in the classroom? Not the first class, not the one where you're teaching in flips, the second one when you're teaching rentals, or the third one where you're teaching wholesaling, and you're getting them pumped up and excited for the actual 4th week, which is the bus tour. That's when you get them to sign a buyer's agency agreement. Then they'll even think twice about it. So you've already got those signed in advance. They're for those who don't have, if let's say Saturday morning, everybody shows up and you've got 7 people who have not signed a buyer's agency agreement, you need to hand them out right there on the spot before the bus leaves and tell them that you're required by your state's protocol to have a buyer's agency agreement at least for that day. Okay, you can make it the one, if the consumer complains, just say, hey, it's just for today. That's all we're doing, just for today. But you should have enough rapport with your clients that it should be a year-long buyer's agency agreement. So Ken, good question. I appreciate you bringing it up, by the way. But that's how I handle that, and that's what I suggest you guys do too, is get them signed well in advance. And also, if somebody brings a partner, for example, have them sign it the morning of. So good questions. All right, let's see here. Ariana says, yes, I need to call you for my one-on-one. Awesome, Ariana. And this is Peter. Peter says, okay, I think I missed something. What do you mean part of the HTE program, we get strategy calls? Just to clarify, is that the one free call? Just making sure. Yes. So Peter, and by the way, Peter, you guys know by now, you can call me anytime. I don't mind at all. Particularly if you're stuck on something, I really want you to call me. I don't want you to assume or guess. Please, please, please call me. If I'm in a class, you can text me. I'll get the message when I get out of class. All right. So let's see here. I want to go back to, okay, we talked about the beginning. We talked about the sequence leading up, 3 emails, 1 per week for 3 weeks. And the 3rd week, you're going to be calling to confirm. Okay. Now, the morning of the event, all right, you've got to recheck your list of properties one last time, because stuff can happen in the blink of an eye, and then you go to show 10 properties or 6 properties or what have you, and 2 of them are under contract. You don't want to find out later on when people are making offers, all right? So clarify the morning of that everything is still available. Matter of fact, what I used to do is I'd call the listing agents the night before just to confirm they're still available, and remind them of what you're doing. Okay, so everybody write that down. Confirmation is vital. Also, I send text messages to all of the people who are signed up for the bus tour, either the night before, like late, like 9 p.m., or early the morning of, like 8 a.m. All right. Now I have everybody meet at the parking lot at 9 a.m. This is what I do. At 9 a.m. It's just a routine. I do it every single time. And the bus might not leave till 9:15 or 9:30, but you want to have them show up at 9 o'clock. But when they show up, you want to verify you've got your buyer's agency agreements, okay? You want to verify that everybody is also pre-qualified, all right? Because part of your lead up to the program is you're going to have them call your lender who's going to be on the bus tour with you to get pre-qualified. Now, one great thing about the good lenders is even people who show up who aren't pre-qualified, the lender can pre-qualify them right there on the spot these days. So that's another reason to have your lender with you on the bus tour. They can pre-qualify them right there on the spot. Also, they can take their initial, the information needed initially if somebody makes an offer on a property. These guys are writing their to-do list right away, who they're going to follow up with. Okay, it's an awesome, awesome technique in that regard. So the morning of, make sure you've got a lot of blank sales agreements, all right, or you've got them loaded onto your laptop, and you've got a hotspot so you can get Wi-Fi access wherever you are. But remember, at the end of the day, everybody's coming back to your office. So you can also use in the case of KW, use your .loop, okay? You just want to be prepared no matter what. Be prepared with printed documents. Be prepared with your laptop, with a hotspot. If you don't have that, have the documents loaded onto your hard drive, okay? So you can fill them out and then load them back up through .loop. There's a number of things you can do to prepare. The bottom line is this, guys. It's the keystone saying in the Boy Scouts of America, and that is be prepared. Be prepared. If you think about anybody in your life that's been successful, all of them are prepared for opportunity. When opportunity is there, they're prepared for it. Okay, that's what luck is. Preparation meets opportunity. So have your sales agreement, have all your addendums, have everything you possibly need, and make sure, again, when you're confirming with your clients, that they come prepared too, with a checkbook, with a pre-approval letter, anything and everything that you may possibly need that day, you want to be prepared for. Now, if you do like I did, I actually had a caterer prepare boxed lunches, and we put them in coolers. And I would stop at some point along the way, give everybody a boxed lunch, let them cool their jets for a minute, and do a checkpoint midday. So lunchtime, We'll do a recap of the first 4 or 5 properties, have lunch, then we go out for the next 4 or 5 properties. It's a great way to give everybody some breathing room, build some camaraderie and a little bit of rapport. And by the way, it's a small community, and these guys will start to get to know each other. I mean, you'll have clients that, every now and then you have somebody who's we call them negative Nellies. They'll be independent operators, let them operate that way. But we have plenty of clients through these techniques that start to band together. And if somebody can't buy something because they don't have money, they'll partner with one of the other guys who does, and they'll split the work or something. Okay. Okay, let's see here. Let's look for other questions. Okay, I think I missed something. What do you mean okay, that was Peter's question. We covered that. All right, this is Ricardo. I am definitely doing these bus tours. I'm working on getting my first investor seminar. Okay, Ricardo, I don't want to douse your flames, but I would suggest do your seminar first, all right, before you do a bus tour. And here's the reason why. If you think about the atmosphere in your own workshop versus the atmosphere in a bus tour, the level of energy, the velocity of activity is going to be much greater on a bus tour. Now, somebody like we've got people on the webinar tonight. I'll just point them out. Ken and Tammy. I would suggest Ken and Tammy do this technique because I know they've been in the business over a year and a half, I think it was. They've already got a string of transactions under their belt, and I've talked to them at length personally on the phone. I know they can handle it. They work together as a team. They're perfect candidates for this technique. The only reason I would have any hesitation, Ken and Tammy, is if you have it yourself. If you have any hesitation at all, then let's step back and have you do the workshop first, okay? Or do the classroom setting first if you want to, and build up to your first bus tour, all right? So if you want to do that, let's do that, and then we'll save this for later time. But I pointed you guys out because I know that you can do it, all right? Okay, let's see here. Ricardo says he's working on his first seminar. Okay. Looks like, hang on one second, guys. Let me check my audio here. Speaking microphone boom. Okay, looks like everything is okay. I'm not sure what's going on here. Please, if you don't reconnect to find this webinar will end. Please check network connection. Well, looks like I'm okay here. Let's see. Let me go down here. Network 6 internet access. Currently connected to. Looks like I'm okay. Let me send out a question here. Okay. Let me do a chat. Hang on one second, guys. If you can hear me, hang on one second. Now, send. Okay. Let me go back to the question box here. Well, the good news is if you can hear me, we got through all the. Okay, good. We're back on. I don't know what happened there, guys. The good news is we got through all the content. How about that? By the way, I'm actually hardwired tonight. I'm not actually going through Wi-Fi, so I'm surprised that happened. I'm not sure. It's possible the network connection was lost there for a moment. That's probably what it was, not the actual audio. Okay, let me go back to questions here. I want to make sure that everybody is on board and okay. Hang on one second. We're almost at the end of that. We had a lot of questions tonight. Okay, let's see. Okay, this is Joe. Hi, Joe. All right. Hi, Gary. My name is Joe from Keller Williams and Reston. Gary, please forward the training platform and all future correspondence for the Investor Agent program to my personal email address, which is joe.versage@gmail.com. Initially, I asked him to send the information to Joe at DeWellis, but I will not be using that address after today, October 9th. Okay, hey, Joe, if you could please, can you send that in an email to Beverly, please? The reason is these chat logs, they are logged, but I don't think Beverly has access to them. If you could put that in an email, she's the one that needs to see that. So I appreciate you bringing that to our attention. Okay, let me see here, guys. Go back up. All right, I think I'm caught up on question here. That was Ricardo. That was Joe. And by the way, for Joe and Matt and Betsy, I think Betsy's the veteran on the team. For Joe and Matt, if you guys want to try this, by all means, I'm willing to help you out and get started. But I would suggest you guys do your workshop first. Okay, that's what I would suggest for you guys, just based on my recollection of your info sheets, excuse me, and my recollection of your level of experience. Okay. Let's see. Let me try. Okay. This is from Stuart. So Stuart got a message. An organizer was having technical issues in webinar within 5 minutes, but then it went away. Okay. Well, that's interesting. So the connection did. So we did lose our network then. Okay. Yes, I can. Thanks, Gary. I'll do that right now. All right, awesome, Joe. Thank you very much. Okay, guys. It's 7:57. That was it for the content for tonight. I can't believe we got through both of them. That's a miracle because usually we only get through one. But I really wanted to go over the lease option with you guys so you understood the pros and cons of that versus a rent-to-own program. Hopefully you guys all see why we strongly encourage you to encourage your clients to do lease options if and when necessary. And again, timing's perfect. We're heading into that type of a market where it's going to come up more and more. And again, we got through the bus tour. So bus tour again, if you're a seasoned veteran, let's get all over it because October and November are awesome months to do it. By the way, so is like April. You can do it 12 months out of the year. I mean, we have people in Chicago and Seattle that do it. They don't stop ever. They just keep going. Okay. Also down in Georgia. But the basic premise is this: you want to begin preparing a month in advance, getting your people signed up for the tour, get the bus signed up, get your lenders signed up, and get a partner signed up to team up with you on that day. Okay. And if you're not on a team, that might be the basis of your first official team. Okay. You promote it via email 3 weeks in a row. The third week you do phone calls to get more people also to confirm with the original people. And the day before you do a text message to the final people. All right. The final list of people. The week before you get your properties lined up. Okay. And again, it's a moving target. That's why you start a week in advance. And then be prepared on the day of the event with all of your forms, either electronically or in print, with your lender, with your assistant, okay, either another agent or an admin person. And again, I like to provide lunch. You don't have to do that. We know plenty of people who don't do lunch, but to me, it's just a warm, friendly way to build rapport, further solidify that wonderful, beautiful relationship you have with these clients whom you're helping build wealth and income. And in turn, they're helping you gain more commissions, gain more experience, and eventually put you in a position to buy your own properties. Okay, this is we got another question here. Hang on one second here. Ariana says, how long should the 4-part classes be? Ariana, I generally shoot for an hour per class. They could drag on to 2 hours depending on how many people are there. But if you do your first one and it's really long, you may have given them too much information. In other words, only give them 1 or 2 or 3 properties that they can go over in an hour to exercise the sheets, okay? So good question. Let's see, Ricardo, confirm the properties are available. Yes, that's right. You want to confirm the night. Here's what you do, Ricardo. 2 confirmations, either the night before or the morning of. Confirmation 1's to the people coming on the bus tour with you, your clients. Confirmation 2 is to the listing agents of all the properties to confirm that there's no pending offers and so the status is not accurate on the MLS. You want to always confirm those 2 things. Good question, by the way. Okay. Well, guys, you did an awesome job tonight. Everybody was on board and asking questions, and that's as instructors, that's what we ask for. We ask you guys to ask questions. So once again, I know I say this every time, but I mean it from the bottom of my heart, guys. I appreciate the opportunity to teach. We're getting a lot of attention nationally, but I'm committed to keep it at the market center level, at least through the initial phase. I've made my commitment. I'm not going to change that. But it looks like probably after a year or so, we'll be moving faster than I thought we originally planned. Not through anything on my part. It's just the feedback we're getting, okay, which is very, very good. That means we've got an awesome program here, and a lot of people are benefiting. And that's exactly what we want. We want you guys to succeed. We want you to build up commissions. We want you to earn and learn as you do it and build your confidence to buy your own properties, because we want you to have residual income too. All right. So I appreciate the opportunity once again. Please stay in touch, whether it's email, text, or phone call. Um, I will be rafting tomorrow. Saturday, I'll be on an afternoon drive. That's 3 hours behind you. So from around noon to 5, I'll be on the road, and that'll be from 3 to 8 Eastern time. Okay. So that's noon to 5 Pacific time. Let's see, I'll be tied up Monday and Tuesday. Wednesday is a travel day. But, just call, text anytime. We'll communicate. Okay, guys, I hope you have a wonderful night and an excellent day tomorrow, and we'll see you all next week. Bye-bye.